and that might work. All right, Carmine, should we go live now? And Sherman and I will maybe make some opening remarks, and then Sherman's going to end. Oh, we're live. All right, well, welcome everybody. I'm Matt Kozlov, Managing Director of Techstars LA and Techstars Space, which is fun to say. I've never been the Managing Director of two programs at one time until now. Joining us are some pretty phenomenal special guests. We've got Sherman Williams, who is our investor in residence and has been for now 2 years. Is this our third program we're coming into now? And
yeah. That's Daniel. Carmine, you can mute him.
No, he is muted. All right. Sorry about this, everyone. So I'm Matt, Managing Director of the program. Sherman will give a little bit of background on himself in a moment. All right, Sherman, why don't you give us some background on yourself now?
Yeah, absolutely. Just don't want to get the feedback. All right, here we go.
Are you muted?
All right, maybe.
We found the problem. It's Sherman.
It could be Sherman. So Sherman, I need to troubleshoot. Thanks everybody for putting up with this echo show. I'll let Sherman correct. I will come back to Sherman. Carrie, can you give us a little bit of background on yourself, and then we'll move on to Daniel, Istvan, and Tyler when he gets on?
Okay, I'm just hoping I don't make an echo too. We good?
We're good.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Matt. Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm from Boulder, Colorado, and I've been lucky enough to be a mentor in a couple of Matt's programs, and thrilled to have met Istvan, who we're going to hear from Morpheus Space, and served as a mentor and continue as an advisor to his company, as well as an advisor to a number of aerospace and deep tech companies, many of whom I've been lucky enough to meet through Matt's programs. So if you're an awesome, cool company, then being in Matt's program is a good way to demonstrate that, because he seems to find the coolest and most unique and incredibly successful companies out there. So it's been a privilege to work with them. So Daniel's another one, and he's going to talk about you. I don't get to work as closely with Daniel, but what he and his OrbitPat team are doing is awesome. No, and not in least amount because they just moved to Colorado.
It's true. All right, Sherman, you want to give it a shot?
Yes. You guys got me now? Okay.
Working.
There we go. No, someone's phone. Okay. So Sherman Williams, everyone, been working with Matt Kozlov for going on a few years now. Super excited about space tech. I'm a former military guy. As you know, we have the military is probably the largest space agency when you really look at the numbers in the world, between the U.S. Air Force, Space Force, and the naval assets. And so, and also have a bit of intelligence background, so have an understanding of how the agencies work, et cetera. Have invested in quite a few space tech companies to date, and been a deep tech investor in general. So very excited to be here, meet you folks, and looking forward to seeing applications.
Awesome. Istvan, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Istvan Lorincz. I'm co-founder, president of Morpheus Space. We've been through Matt's program in 2019, the Techstars Space Accelerator, and we are focused on satellite mobility, so providing propulsion systems to satellite and making moving satellites around in orbit as easy as possible and as convenient as possible and as intelligent as possible.
And Daniel? You're on mute.
Off and on and off and on again.
There you go.
Thanks, Matt. Overfab went through the same program Istvan did in 2019, which was great. That was supported a pivot that we did towards government and Air Force and our Space Force customers. We'd previously been focused on commercial customers. That was really effective, so quite happy. OrbitFab tagline, gas stations in space. We're building the propellant supply chain that'll let us have a bustling in-space economy to one day support permanent jobs in space. We need this infrastructure. We need other bits of infrastructure to be built. So we're pretty excited about helping build the whole ecosystem.
So thank you. I'm going to just give like a 2-minute overview of Techstars and our program and some mechanics, and then I'll hand it over to Sherman to MC the conversation. I do want this to be as interactive as possible. So this is an AMA. Put your comments in the chat. There's a ask a question button that you should see. Please, we want this to be a dialogue, not a us talking at you. This is an amazing group of founders. You'll hear all about their journeys and their successes, and there's a lot of money raised between the 3 companies that you're going to be hearing from today, and a lot of government grants and government contracts as well. So I think you're going to get some really great, useful mentorship, even just from the folks here on the call, including from Sherman and Carrie, who are actual mentors for our program. For those who don't know what Techstars is, we're one of the most active seed stage investors in the world. We're not a pure, here's a check, and then we take equity kind of investor. We're very hands-on. We run close to 50 different accelerator programs around the world in different geographies and in different verticals. We run 2 flavors of programs. One is what we call city programs, like Techstars LA, Techstars New York, Techstars Boulder. Those managing directors and those teams are basically investing in whatever most interesting companies they find that fit their thesis. There's no industry mandate. And then the other flavor of programs we run are what we call industry programs or vertical programs, where we'll partner up with one or multiple corporations, government partners, nonprofits, and we'll build a bespoke program around a specific industry. So I was brought on Techstars 6 years ago to build out our healthcare program. Then I built out our space program that everyone on this call has been involved with. And then for the first time ever, we're running a joint program that will be half Techstars LA, half Techstars Space. So we're going to bring in a bunch of aerospace and defense companies, and they'll benefit from all the mentors and partners that we've worked with from the space program in the past. But we're also going to be running Techstars LA cohort, which will have a lot more generalist mentors as well for the September. I'm really excited about that. Sherman and I have been working, and Carrie too, have been working across both programs, the city program and the space program. And we're really excited to be bringing them all under one roof as sort of a big, happy group for the September program. We are planning to run that in LA from mid-September to mid-December. Applications are open now, and I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's questions, and I'm looking forward for everybody here to hear from our founders. So with that, I'm going to put myself on mute and let Sherman take it from here.
Awesome. So we'll start off with Daniel. And Daniel, you are a second-time founder when it comes to the space technology industry, right? So what drove you to do the Techstars Space Tech program?
Yeah, I think I've actually started something like 16 companies, and 4 of them were serious startups. So I guess a 4th-time founder. The first one was instrumentation for the mining industry terrestrially. The second one was high-speed internet for Antarctica. We were trying to build a small satellite constellation, and Phase 3 was paint the sky black. This is about 3 or 4 years before OneWeb, so perhaps too early, I don't know. Most recently, Deep Space Industries, we put the shingle out as an asteroid mining company. But our technology strategy we were building small thrusters to move satellites around in orbit. We leveraged that into being the prime contractor for the first Hawkeye 360 constellation. So that was acquired by Bradford in the Netherlands. But that was funded. We had a family office there that put the money in that let us get the engineering team. And then we were winning contracts and things, but we weren't VC backed. So Orbit Fab really is the first VC backed company that I've run. At the time we applied for Techstars, we had backing by Bolt VC, who are a seed stage or pre-seed VC in San Francisco that invests sort of intersection of hardware and software. And they have a partner with a background, Greg McAdoo, has a background in aerospace before he sold companies to Cisco and ended up at Y Combinator. So he brought a lot of experience like that. And we talked to him about whether we should join Y Combinator or Techstars. And his sort of comment was, well, don't bother, we're on your cap table, we can help you raise money, and those kind of things. We'd done ticked off some big achievements. We had 2 tanker test beds on the International Space Station before we applied for Techstars. We already had a NASA SBIR. We'd lined up an Air Force AFWERX SBIR. So things were starting to roll. And we got some good customer response. But when we looked at it, we'd spent, and I mentioned this before, we'd spent 9 months to a year working on commercial customers. And we always positioned ourselves, we want to provide the fuel and the propellant and deliver that to orbit. People were painting us as a satellite servicing company, and we don't consider ourselves a satellite servicing company because if you need servicing, call a tow truck. Our beachhead market is the tow trucks. We want to provide fuel to the tow truck companies. So we were talking to all the commercial tow truck companies. When we started, there were 8 or 9, and they're now more than 100. And we kept finding out about more and more. And Jeremy, my co-founder, got on the board, and he was vice chair of Confers, which is DARPA-funded industry association trying to standardize satellite servicing operations. And so we were getting engaged in that. But what we realized was the Air Force, Space Force like DoD and JPL, NASA, they have non-dilutive funding, and they were starting to realize that satellite servicing and refueling was going to be a thing. And we didn't have connections in that. But our commercial customers weren't going to pay us any money until we had a fully mature system. So it behooved us to go and get some of the upfront money from the government and then keep developing and working on the commercial customers. So we did a very hard pivot on our business development. We went from 100% focused on commercial to being 80 or 90% focused on the government. And to do that, we went through Techstars because Techstars had JPL, Air Force, Aerospace Corp was supporting it, Maxar, Lockheed, like the big companies that knew how to talk to government. And it was really from that we got the core of our network and everything with Air Force, Space Force. And we're now up to about 12 million of government contracts. So it's really paid off. So for us, it was very much about that. And we angsted over, they want to take an arm and a leg and we're worth more than that and all those usual things. We sat down and wrote a list and said, right, if I had that as cash, right, if I converted that equity to cash right now, what would that cash buy me in terms of business progress, investor interactions, and everything else? And then on the other side of the ledger, what do I think Techstars can get me compared to what if I don't do Techstars? And so in the end, we decided to take it, and we ticked off a lot of the things that were on our list. And then we realized a whole bunch of intangible benefits, just the Techstars network and everything else. It ended up absolutely, definitely being worth it for us, even though it was a hard decision. So there you go. That's sort of why we did it and how we came out of it. We've now pivoted back. We've got a lot more of our focus going back into commercial, as was our plan, as we've seen success. But yeah, the investor introductions and the network that came with it, the relationships that we managed to build, absolutely invaluable to getting Orbit Fab where it is today.
That's amazing. Now, we heard why Daniel decided to do the program. Istvan, what did you get out of the program? Can you talk about that?
That is a very, very difficult question to answer because the impact of Techstars is kind of like a nudge in a chaotic system. Like, if you heard of the butterfly effect, that's what Techstars is. So it's a catalyst for network growth, and with it comes growth in professionalism and business and everything else. So it's It's a very interesting approach. And for example, Kiri is a critical part of that, because we selected her as one of our first lead mentors, and we selected her because we saw that networking, and this was in the very beginning, where we were focused more on partners and the program supporters, like the Air Force or Lockheed or whatever, all those companies and entities. But then we realized that actually the biggest value is in networking, and that's where we decided to focus more on that side, rather than focusing on getting that immediate payoff from the program partners, right? So we focused on deepening our networks, and with that we understood slowly how, for example, the U.S. government works, because we came over from Europe, from Germany, and we had no idea how things were working, and what we wanted to get out of it is, we saw the big names, we saw Air Force, we saw the big primes and all the rest, and we thought, well, we're gonna have a contract at the end of the program with JPL and the Air Force, and that was the goal in the beginning, and then we realized, well, that is just a short-term payoff if we get like a small contract of a few $100,000. But if we focus on the network and we learn the system, we learn how business is done in this side of the world, then we get a lot more out of it. And that's where we put our focus in, and it turned out to be the right decision for us. And I couldn't measure up the actual value what we got out of it, but we wouldn't be here where we are today. We closed a very healthy seed round, and now we are looking to close our Series A, and we opened an office in the US. We actually moved from Germany to LA because we got introduced to LA, we got introduced to the LA ecosystem, and we loved it, and we said, we're gonna move next to Matt. It's just a lot of fun, and yeah, it is very, very difficult to summarize it in a few minutes. It's just a lot. The best way I could say it is that the company where it is now and where I am now, we wouldn't be here without Techstars, and we started out with a small university basement project, and now we are a group of 4 companies internationally and growing fast.
That's awesome. Now, we've heard why someone decided to do Techstars, what they got out of the Techstars Space Tech program. Now I want to hear from Kiri about what is the difference that you see between, the companies that decide to go through an accelerated program and do Techstars and those who don't go through the program. And also, while doing that, please give a bit more of your background, because you're doing so many things, Kiri, as far as supporting space tech companies and investing in them, et cetera. So.
Thanks, Sherman. Yeah, so it's hard. Well, we're here to talk about companies within Techstars. So it's hard to compare those not in Techstars because, there's a whole selection bias around that. But that being said, to go back to my background, I think what you're referring to. So I do a lot of work advising, mentoring, and investing in aerospace and deep tech. So I get to see a lot of different companies. But I also spend time working on a program called the Z Factor Fellowship, which I co-founded along with some other incredible people in the aerospace industry. And that is, our mission is to make sure that there are opportunities, particularly in this case, internship opportunities from people from underrepresented communities. So Z Factor Fellowship launched in 2020. We had our first cohort of fellows in 2021 that worked at host companies throughout the United States. And we are in the process of finalizing and matching host companies with fellows for the 2022 cohort, which is really exciting. And I'm thrilled to say that Daniel hosted an incredible Z Factor fellow last year at Orbit Fab. And to my knowledge, she's still working there. They just never stopped giving her work. There were 2 last year, and there's 2 still working there. Oh my God. So Daniel really works people hard because these are college students.
We hired both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm
we hired both of them. Actually,
yes.
They're absolutely brilliant. We kept both of them on part-time after their internship, and now we've hired one full-time. The other one still has to finish a degree.
Yeah. And this upcoming year, Morpheus Space is also going to be a host company, which we're really excited about, as well as some other Techstars alum companies are going to be host companies. So once again, I think what's so cool about being in the Techstars community is there's lots of ways to not only grow your company and see success financially and professionally, but also to have an impact on the aerospace industry or whatever your industry is. And, you know, and to use Techstars terminology, give first, right? To give back and to give first is their ethos, which is one of the reasons why I'm a mentor with Techstars. You know, mentors, we don't receive any compensation or anything like that, but we do get a lot back in the sense of, you know, you get to meet incredible founders, get to meet incredible companies, get to meet incredible people like Sherman and Matt and others who are all contributing to the Techstars community. And I have just loved being able to meet so many different companies. And I think one of the things that was really important for me as a mentor coming in was thinking, you know, having that imposter syndrome of I don't belong here, because I look at the list of mentors and I think, oh my goodness, these people are so smart and so successful and know so much. And that is true. However, I also realize that what they know, I don't know. That is great for the companies because I know a whole different set of skills. And as Istvan referred to, I have a very different network. And bringing all of those to the table to be able to provide for the Techstars company is something that I do think is not necessarily quantifiable. Though I look at like a Morpheus space and look at your advisory board, that all came through our conversations. And you know, these incredible people are helping Morpheus. And I'm thrilled that through a connection to me, and then I connected to other people who connected to other people, Morpheus was able to build this. And I'm sure Orbit Fab has the same kind of stories of how they were able to build relationships. So there are also highly technical people who will support a Techstars company who will help with the products. There are people who are like go-to-market strategists, all of these different parts of what you need to have nailed down to build a company. Techstars has those people in spades, and they're all willing to give first, which is kind of amazing.
I would like to mention something about the give first part. As a European, there might be Europeans in the audience, and I just want to make sure that they understand something. From the European perspective, when they hear a slogan, it's just la la, tra la la, and doesn't mean anything. I want to make sure that people understand that give first, and it's not just a slogan. When we arrived, everybody who was involved in Techstars actually lived it. What does that mean? What does give first mean? It means that people come to you, they look at you, they get to know you in a short amount of time, and they will go out of their way to help you. If you tell them what your difficulties are, what your challenges are, they will go out of their way and help you. And this is very unusual for Europeans, at least based on my experience. I didn't know what to do with it. And then I started to live it. And now I also give first. And I also am in contact with European space companies. And I offer them, you know, where can I help? Can I introduce you to investors and whatnot? And I can do this and I can do that. And my intent is just to help the industry and help people who struggle just like I did. And the reaction I get is still like, what do you want in return? You know, that is like truly the most common reaction I get. And I just say, you don't need to worry about that. I'm just happy to help. And that is totally normal. Just accept it.
That's awesome. Well, someone in the audience asked a question about are applications open for non-U.S. citizens? And I want to say, obviously, that there's yes to that. And they also ask, can Canadians apply? And you know, definitely yes. And I want to have a quick talk about the non-dilutive funding, Daniel, that you mentioned. And I know Istvan, you guys are eventually going after, there's some non-dilutive funding elements to what you guys are doing. Daniel and Istvan, can you guys talk about that element to your companies?
The non-dilutive funding of the program?
Negative. Non-dilutive funding you'll be able to raise from the government in order to reduce the capital.
Bow out of that conversation, Daniel, because technically Morpheus Space did not receive non-dilutive funding. We received non-dilutive funding from Europe, not the US. However, there's going to be certain announcement that's going to come out that will show how we handle the situation and how we could support the US government and the whole US ecosystem through those funding means by introducing our technology that respects and follows the rules of the country. And that's all I can say at the moment, because it's not up to me to release information.
Got it. So maybe Daniel, you can go.
I'm less shackled, seeing as we have some good contracts already, and that's definitely been working well for us. So I think we're up to about $12 million of government contracts to support the testing and qualification of our equipment. The government wants things tested to their specifications and fit for their uses and purposes. And while we thought that what we were doing with the fully commercial systems would be fine, they had other ideas and wanted us to hear them and wanted us to respond to them and all the rest. And so, they've ended up supporting a lot of our development through that. And it definitely reduces our capital requirements. It's pushed our runway a lot longer, which has put us in a much stronger position raising money. Definitely, there are a lot of ways, like there's a lot of avenues to get non-dilutive funding in the US through NASA, through the SBIR programs that a lot of the different agencies have. And of course, in aerospace, the DoD is very interested as well. So I highly recommend that all the companies that are listening in on this take advantage of that and look at it. And like I said, it was one thing that we wanted to get out of Techstars was the relationships to let us tap into that and then progress from non-dilutive development funding into actual contracts where we had to deliver on products to the government. And the government uses these SBIRs and other mechanisms they have as paths into those contracts. They want to get to know you. They want you to understand their systems and how they think. They want to expose you to the people that are end users and give you a chance to get in there and show them what you have so that they can bring innovation and help improve the way that the government's doing it, being it get more missions out to Mercury and the asteroids, or these days the flavor is the moon, get to the moon better, or protect the country and support national security. So they want innovation, and the paths into it are often through a whole bunch of non-dilutive funding, which is great.
I would like to add something here. So obviously there are non-US people watching. So I just want to say that if you get accepted to the program and you see the first difficulties with the government contracting process and all the rules around it, and you think that it's impossible to get funding from the US government as a foreigner, if you're in NATO, if you come from a NATO country, then please do reach out to me, and there are ways to obtain and work with the US government, and I'm happy to help.
Awesome. So I want to dig into the actual program with Techstars now, in the sense of what does a day, a week, a month look like for a Techstars space tech company participant? Can you talk about some of your experiences as you remember them, Daniel and Istvan?
Intense. Very intense. I can't remember, we did 150 interviews with potential mentors and advisors and stakeholders and investors, crammed into, was that like 4 weeks or 6 weeks or something? It was full on. Meanwhile, we're trying to also, run our companies and everything else. It was incredible. There were far too many opportunities. Our biggest challenge and the most important thing that we had to do through all of that was to figure out the one or two things out of like 100 great opportunities that came up, the one or two things that we had the bandwidth to push forward, which is great. Like, it's a huge list of opportunities. We're still working through some things on that list, to be honest. We get back in touch with people like, yes, that was something we talked about during the Techstars program. So yeah, it's just an exposure to a huge number of opportunities is the best way to put it. And if you've ever done any of the NASA I-Corps programs or a business model canvas, sort of Steve Blank, lean startup type things, the most important thing you can do is get out of the building and talk to people and ask them why they think your ideas are terrible, and listen to them objectively, because good odds your ideas are terrible. Some of ours were. Some of our best ideas were absolutely terrible. But through that, we managed to sort of ask the questions and understand why and get to the bottom of what people wanted and how they wanted it and where they wanted it and when they wanted it and what it meant to them and the associated things that might actually be more valuable. So it was really a whole bunch of discovery, just at so many different levels. That was intense. And after we got through all of those, there was a second phase, which was getting ready to pitch. So we're following up on those leads and pushing those through, and then just polishing the pitch deck and understanding what it means to talk to investors. And Matt was running the program. He's still constantly throwing new investors at us. But it was an endless parade of investors for us to talk to through the whole program. And then, of course, you get to pitch day, and that's it. You're on the spot. You're on the stage. Everyone's coming up to you afterwards to find out more. So that's it. And then you wake up the next morning and you realize 3 days have gone by because you've had to recover.
That's very true. I can share all those things Daniel said. The first thing that popped into my mind when you asked that question was the black bear that was chasing you guys. But there is a lot of fun involved. So Daniel was very focused on you getting the most for your buck or something, the real value that you get out of it, but you should not neglect the human side of it and life experiences that you gain. And I have so many fond memories that I just cannot share with you because they are shared with the group. And it was just an incredible time for us. Obviously, we learned a lot, and we learned. If you ask me what's the most important thing that I learned, I think it is interaction with humans and just collaboration and the value of collaboration. Because if you're a first-time a founder, you don't know that you think that it's everything is on you and you have to solve every single thing. That is not true. What you need to do is sell your vision and your ambition and passion, and people will come to you and find ways to join you and help you. And that's something that was so foreign to me that I never would have considered to do business like that. And now we live that every single second, and it is part of our one of our core values to improve the space industry through collaboration. We ask every one of our employees, how did you contribute to the growth of the space industry regularly? Like every single little thing counts, and that's the mentality that we would like to project into the world.
Awesome. Akiri, I'm going to ask you a tougher couple of questions here. Sorry. What advice do you have for people who would be entering into prior to actually joining the Techstars Space Tech program in order to, help guarantee some sort of success? What advice would you have? I have a second part question for people who are coming when they come out of the program. What advice would they have? So I'll just kind of give you that up front.
I think so. Yeah, thanks for giving me the hard ones. I think the first thing is to acknowledge what success looks like. I love what Daniel said earlier about looking at the pros and the cons, and like, what if we, whatever we are giving to Techstars to be part of the program, what would be more valuable than that? And having that articulated, and then going back to what Daniel and Istvan both just referred to, going back to that throughout the process, because it's so easy to get either mentor whiplash or just get focused on all this. There's so much going on while you're in Techstars. But if you, before you've gotten in there, have really articulated what success will look like, then and you come back to it throughout the program and make sure you're on target to get there, I think you will end up with a more successful experience than not. And it's hard to do because, as Daniel said, and I think as Istvan would also acknowledge, there are times you have to pivot when you're in these kinds of programs. There's times when you make a realization and you think, oh, that's why we're not getting traction. We actually need to go over here. Well, that might change what it is your success look like. But if you are able to, again, pivot that list as well, you're going to have a lot more success. And I will say, as a mentor, so the way the mentoring works is the first 4 weeks you guys are in mentor madness, 3 to 4 weeks. And then mentors meet once a week and lead mentors with the companies for the next 8 weeks, roughly. And I will make it a point in my weekly meetings to say, like, how's it going? Like, are you on track to meet success, whatever you defined it as being? And just keep tying always back to, like, hey, pay attention, because what are you going to want to get out of Techstars? And are you getting that? And it's amazing to me how many times people are like, oh, I completely forgot to think about it because I got 17 other things I should have done yesterday. But just coming back to, like, why am I here? That foundational basis, I think, is really key. I don't know if Daniel and Istvan want to join in on that too. Is there anything that they wish they had done differently to prepare?
Great question.
I don't know that you can prepare for something like Techstars. Partly because a lot of the preconceived notions you have go out the window once you actually start talking with people, and there's a lot of people to talk to there. Yes, is all I would say. Agree, 100%.
There is one thing you can do to prepare, and that is prepare to take it seriously. We took it very seriously, and we did the program with absolute attention. We did have a lot of fun. It was not all work, but when it was work, it was 100% work, and sometimes we didn't sleep, and that's the truth. With Mentor Madness, we did every single day background checks on every single mentor so that we came prepared to the meetings, and most people don't do that. So take it seriously. If you get accepted, take it seriously. Take it as an opportunity that was just given to you, handed over to you, and it's up to you to make the most out of it. If you just hang around and don't do anything, it's not going to fall into your lap. It is just an opportunity for you to be better, and everything is there to support you to be better. If you don't want that, if you are not willing to put in the busy work, the real hard sweat, then you're not gonna make it far, so to say. That's my experience. Okay, I'm sure there are exceptions, but that's just my experience.
Great. Now, one thing I find is that the space tech industry is changing quite rapidly, right? It can be hard for a lot of folks to keep up, right? So, Daniel, I'd love to hear from all three of you. We'll start with Daniel first. How do you feel, or how would you categorize the direction that the space tech industry is going? And what suggestions would you have for those that are building new space technology companies today, so they can, throw the ball to where the receiver is going versus where they're at? Sorry to use a sports analogy, but it's the best thing I could think of off the top.
No, it's a good analogy. I like it. It's also pretty important in when you're setting up a startup, right? You're not trying to build a startup to solve today's market problem. You're trying to solve the problem for when you have a product ready to sell, which is 3 to 5 years in the future. So you absolutely need to skate to where the puck is. There's my Canadian analogy. The so what are we looking at the moment, right? There's a huge amount of money that's gone into LEO mega constellations. There's a lot of money going into space situational awareness. There's various plays on satellite servicing. And like I said, when we started, there were 8 or 9 companies. There are now over 100 looking at satellite servicing. There's a whole bunch of infrastructure. We've now got 4 companies funded by NASA to build commercial space stations. So I'm looking forward to seeing exports from space increase, right? At the moment, with telecoms and remote sensing, they're the only things that we export from space. Soon we'll have a tourism industry up there, entertainment content, shooting movies, doing, I don't know, concerts, whatever. Like, there's going to be a huge amount of stuff. I look forward to seeing sports and everything else on the entertainment content side. Manufacturing in space, there's a small number of companies that are looking at that. That's an absolutely fascinating field. I know 150 years ago, people figured out how to remove air from small volumes. And, whoop-de-doo, there's now no air, but we had industrial vacuum pumps. Over the next 100 years, all manufacturing changed. We got refrigeration, we got vacuum freezing, and every single chemical process now uses a vacuum sort of a process. Right now, today, we have the opportunity to start removing gravity, which is the force that macroscopic organization of matter is driven by gravity. We get to remove that. And, whoop-de-doo, I now have a bottle with no gravity in it. What's the application? I guarantee over the next 100 years, manufacturing in space manufacturing on Earth will be completely revolutionized by what we can do in space. And I look forward to the day when we move heavy manufacturing off Earth, and we move a lot of people off Earth. We turn Earth into a nature park, and we go live in a better place in the sky. Frankly, that I think is our future. In the next 100 years, the economy in space will be bigger than the economy on Earth. Now, what we have to find as entrepreneurs is the way to make money off that transition, right? We can't build for the end game, right? You've got to build for the 3 to 5 years, and you've got to try and map that out. What you'll get at Techstars, and this is part of the Give First, right? Everybody will try and help you find that. Everybody will try and help you map out where the tech's going. And you ask 20 people, you'll probably get 40 different ideas of what the future will look like, because no one's sure. But it's charting through that's super important. So to wrap that up, I would say everybody absolutely should get into satellite servicing of some kind, because that's our short-term customers, and I want to see more of them.
Carrie, what about you?
Okay, sorry, I had to unmute. I think Daniel just gave a really good synopsis of where he thinks things are going, and I completely agree with all he said. And I would agree that it's very exciting. I think I would take a more holistic approach and say, like, any founders who are out there, nobody thought Elon was going to be able to create a commercial launch company. Everyone thought that can't be done. It's never been done before. And now look at SpaceX as one of the most reliable launch systems in the planet. So if you believe in it, I think you have to just focus on making your dream come true. And it sounds so cheesy, but it's kind of true. We've got 2 founders on here who have done that more than once each. So I think, and as someone who's founded a number of companies, I think that's what's most important. I wouldn't limit yourself by what you see others doing, but of course, being realistic about the approach. And I think, not to harp on it, but that's why Techstars can be super useful, because it really does bring all of these experts in to help you hone that message and hone what it is you're trying to do, and actually build a functioning company that is going to be scalable. I mean, that's the goal. So there's few organizations out there that are going to be able to support you in that, building your dream, whatever it may be. And again, as cheesy as it sounds, there's few others than Techstars that's really going to be able to help you do that.
Istvan, I'd love to hear from you. Your thoughts there.
Okay. I think the most apparent thing that is currently changing is excitement around the industry. Wonder, dreams, and hope came back. All very beautiful things that were lost over 2 decades or 3 decades after the Apollo program was stopped. And as a child, I was so much. I got so much influence through those programs, through the space shuttle in the background of Kerry, and also Star Trek and science fiction. And I just wanted that excitement and hopefulness in my life, in reality, and nothing really was pointing at that happening again until the what's it called, the X Prize appeared, and the all the different private entities getting into a new kind of space race, and seeing that how much that changed the scenery, and all the segmentation that is happening right now, that created the exponential growth, led to an unpredictable positive outcome. So the growth is so full of potential that it's very hard to predict. That's why the predictions, if you look at pitch decks, they vary so much. It's because it's filled with hope and all these wonderful things. And I think what you should also realize is that the segmentation says something. It's that everybody has their own passion that they want to bring in the industry, and they want to do something to improve that and get that vision going again. And what I think that everybody should do when they get into this industry is collaborate. Look outside of your company, find partners, because there are so many other small companies that have amazing things, and collaboration is the easiest right now. It's just so easy. Go out and find the match, find the synergy, and tell everyone, let's work together, let's build something together, let's help each other. And everybody is very, very receptive of that, and I just love that.
That's great. And I think one of the best ways to kickstart that collaboration is going through Techstars Space Tech program, right? Just with the cohort mates around you, the mentors that you get from the program, some of the partners with the program, et cetera. It's just a great way to kind of kickstart that collaboration. Very well said. Well, we're coming up on the end here. And I just want to go, Daniel, first, just any parting thoughts for the audience with respect to, building a company with Techstars LA?
Yeah, I think it's it can be a great springboard. It can really help a company. Don't underestimate the value of the network. Don't underestimate Matt. He is a one-man force, and now he's been joined by a great team, right? It's just amazing. So yeah, go out there, build companies, come buy fuel.
Istvan?
I can just second that. I cannot add anything more to that. It was quite a complete picture, and definitely go to space and use fuel and intelligent mobility.
Awesome. Kerry, anything? Any parting thought?
I always come back to, I hope you're on this AMA because you love space, you love building companies, you love the community. So no matter what you do, keeping in mind that your passion is what's going to fuel the next generation of innovators and explorers. And we need you, and we need everyone in your community that you think can really contribute and provide the diversity and the innovation that we need. It doesn't come from one group of individuals. It comes from all of us collaborating. And I see that when I see founders like Daniel and Istvan and others who have gone through the Techstars program. I see that when I go to different space conferences. where people really do come together. I think it's something special about this industry. I know a lot of people say their industry is the best industry. I'm not going to judge, but there is something special about this aerospace industry because what we are all doing is so difficult. And so I hope that everyone on this call is going to find some way to join because we need you, we need your support, we need your skills. And whether that's through Techstars or otherwise, it's great that you're all here and that you're all want to be part of this.
I want to add something. Because I'm sure that a lot of people who are watching this, who are first-time founders, are just interested in how can Techstars help me get more money and get funding. That's very, very common. I get that question very often. So I want to leave you with one story. We were looking term sheets in the eye when we got accepted to the program. And the best deal, the VC that brought the best deal to us said that if you go, we are not giving you money. So if they said it's either or, you either accept the term sheet or you go to Techstars, and we chose Techstars. Just so you know, Techstars is worth more than just funding.
Awesome. Dan, you had something else?
A second that. Yeah, I was just thinking while Kari was talking, perhaps on this call we have entrepreneurs who've been around the block before and are trying to think of what their next opportunity is. I talked in big brush sort of strokes about where the future of the industry is going. In the next 100 years, the economy in space will be bigger than the economy on Earth. Let me contextualize that in the near term and the 3 to 5 year term. At the moment, rockets, the cost of getting to space drives everything. That's why we're trying to build smaller spacecraft, and we're trying to build the fuel supply so that people can then get away with launching less and buy fuel in orbit. A lot of things are driven by that. Satellites end up costing 1 to 2 times the launch, and that's a huge cost. What's happening though at the moment is the cost of launch is coming down. And if you don't want to bet against Elon Musk, which is a dangerous thing, then you're going to have to believe that that Starship will be a thing and that launch costs are going to tumble. At that point, all of the value chains break, all the supply chains break, because now you need to produce spacecraft at vastly less cost than what people have before, because you've got to match that reduction in cost, right? You can't have an expensive spacecraft on a cheap launch vehicle, right? You're no longer driven by that. Those supply chains are breaking. There's disruption happening. And the question is just who wants to take advantage of it and who wants to change the industry, right? These big companies that dominate the industry right now, half of them aren't going to survive the next 10 years, right? They're going to have to buy, consolidate, do whatever they can to stay in business as their current supply chains and everything they rely on and how they do business fundamentally gets undermined by new cost structures. That is what we're building right now. And the opportunity to put private space stations in orbit, to have tourism, all those kind of things, to have the mega constellations, right? The things that are going to be done differently. Those are the things that we can see. The things that we can't see, the things that, I mean, there's 80 people on this call right now. The things you will imagine will be far better and different than what I can imagine. Maybe Istvan's got a brain big enough to imagine more of them. There are going to be amazing things come up. That's why, the rising tide, everyone's helping each other. It's going to be an incredible next 3, 5, 10 years in this industry. That is why you should be in this industry right now. That is why you should seriously look at it. And if you're not quite sure that you've got a great idea, but you'll back yourself as a founder, join Techstars and find an idea. You'll get a network that will introduce you to this industry.
That was fantastic, Daniel. Thank you for wrapping us up with that. Matt, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to thank everybody for their time, especially our panelists and the 80 people watching here. Sherman and I have both put our contact information in the chat. I think we got to every question that was logged in the Ask a Question section, but Sherman and I are both happy to answer any questions that maybe did not come up. I think one last other general advice, just in the spirit of people who want to learn how to build a space company. Just Sherman and I meet a lot of prospective founders looking to build a space company, and I think the key in any deep tech, but especially space, is to have your grand vision, have your vision for a network of space tankers for any satellite to be refueled, but break it down into smaller chunks. What can you achieve with $500,000 today, $1 million today? What can you achieve with no money today? If you can't do anything without $25 million, you can't even start, then that's going to be a really rough go. I don't know if there's a way for you to get past that hurdle. Every single company, whether it was Orbit Fab, starting off with just the fuel interface exchange and testing that on the ISS, or using university programs to build and bootstrap and then get a couple of the Morpheus space propulsion systems in orbit, but with no outside funding. Like, whatever you need to do, try to figure out the shortest path to the next step of de-risking your business. And you don't have to do the whole Megillah to build the space company. Like, we're definitely in an industry right now where you can make smaller material gains in de-risking the business with LOIs, with grants. Like, the VCs that I'm working with, and certainly myself, like, I'm not looking to make a quick buck where this is going to be a 3-year turnaround and we're done. Like, we're building infrastructure here, but you do need to figure out what that first baby step is in order to get to that long-term, giant vision that's going to be a, $50 billion company. So that's, I think, just what I wanted to leave things with. And we'll help you get from A to B to C to D. But, we're probably not going to be able to help you get from A to Z if you haven't thought out the interim steps. I'll leave it with that. I'm looking forward to learning all about your guys' companies, and Sherman and I will be spending a lot of time with founders over the next few months as we select our cohort. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Sherman, for the opportunity.
Bye-bye.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.